popular books this past year was Heaven is for Real. It spent 55 weeks upon the New York Times bestseller list, and maybe a show of hands if you've heard of this book or perhaps read it. A few. I'll inform everyone else if you haven't heard of it. It's about a boy's near-death experience who during a surgery claims to have slipped from consciousness and actually gone into heaven. Now, a 4-year-old telling me he's gone to heaven is about if I would tell you, I've been to Mars, where I played basketball with Michael Jordan, and the rest of the cast were in Space Jam. No one's seen Space Jam. That's okay. But he had some remarkable proof for why he probably was there, or he claims he was there, for he knows things he shouldn't have known. An example. He told his parents that in heaven he met Pop, which was his great-grandfather. But this is strange because his parents never told him about Pop. His parents never informed him of this great-grandfather. What is more, he told his parents that he has 2 sisters. Now, in reality, he only has 1 sister on earth, but he says he has 2 sisters. And we're back to a time when his parents had a miscarriage. The thing is, they never told Colton about it. He should have never known. And yet there in heaven, he met his sister, that sweet little girl. He knows things about heaven that a Sunday school 4-year-old shouldn't know. Biblical pictures of what the Bible says heaven will be like, whether it be Jesus dressed in purple scarlet and other things like the Holy Spirit and how he helps people. There's been a strong reaction to the book. Mostly positive. I was reading on Amazon some of the reviews, and I think this review typifies some of people's response. One review said this: if you've ever had any doubts about there being a God, you won't after reading this refreshing story about a little boy and his memories of heaven. And friends, I believe pastorally one of the reasons this book took off is because you and I crave, you and I want so badly evidence for what we put our faith and hope in. You and I live by faith and not by sight, but if there's sight, we want to see it. We want proof. And so if a 4-year-old boy tells us, hey, I got proof, we're prone to listen, prone to investigate, perhaps believe ourselves. But dear friends, that's the culture we live in. As a pastor, I'm kind of a crazy cat. And I believe that God has given us more than a book about a 4-year-old claiming to God to heaven. That we have proof found in the Word of God, proof, resounding proof at Easter that confirms in our heart what we believe in and put our hopes in. And that's the premise for this series. To investigate the proof of the Bible that God has given us that very first Easter. And so today we're going to see the proof, not a 4-year-old boy claiming to go to heaven anymore. We're going to see the proof he gave us at Easter. And today we're going to peer into the empty tomb and see what we find. I invite you to turn with me now to our scripture. It's recorded in Luke chapter 24. I invite you to follow along with me. On the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women took spices they had prepared and went to the tomb. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. But when they entered it, they did not find the body of the Lord Jesus. While they were wondering about this, suddenly 2 men in clothes that gleamed like lightning stood beside them. In their fright, the women bowed down their faces to the ground. But the men said to them, "Why do you look for the living among the dead? He is not here. He has risen. Remember how he told you while he was still with you in Galilee. The Son of Man must be delivered into the hands of sinful men, be crucified, and on the 3rd day be raised again." And then they remembered his words. When they came back from the tomb, they told all these things to the 11 and to all the others. It was Mary Magdalene, Joanna, Mary the mother of James, and the others with them, who told this to the apostles. But they did not believe what they were doing, because their words seemed to them like nonsense. Peter, however, got up and ran to the tomb. Bending over, he saw the strips of linen lying by themselves, and he went away, wondering to himself, Or in another translation, being amazed at what had happened. This is the word of God. So the woman's proof, an empty tomb and an angelic message that confirmed in their hearts the truth of Easter. Today you and I peered into an empty tomb, and we cling to that same Easter proof. Continue. 2012 is an election year, and perhaps there are some of you here who have voted in the primaries. And part of election year is campaigning. I get a kick out of one campaign piece, one promotional material item, and the thing I get a kick out of is bumper stickers. Maybe you've used them at one time or another. I have a vintage bumper sticker for you this morning. Ross Perot back in 1992. That's awesome. And maybe I shouldn't get a kick out of this, but I have to admit I do. I get a kick when I'm driving down the road and someone has their bumper stickers all laid out. When someone is driving with a candidate that lost. Now, I probably shouldn't laugh, that they have McCain or Perry or Kerry or Ross Perot, but I get a kick out of it because how embarrassing. You're driving when this candidate has lost. I think that's why they make magnetic ones now. The ones that you can just rip off the car in case they lose. It's a good idea. I bring this up because I believe when we look at the women in our lesson, they are driving around with a Jesus bumper sticker, even though he's just been voted out of office. They are claiming and putting their hopes in a God who they thought would fulfill and thought would come through on promises, but it seems that he is not. You see, they had heard his message. They had experienced his goodness. One of the women there, Mary Magdalene, we know, she actually had 7 demons cured out of her. She had 7 demons brought out of her by Jesus and experienced the goodness of God. And so rightly she put her hope in him. But now the hope seems dashed. So look with me again at verse 1. Verse 1, what are they doing? It says, on the first day of the week, very early in the morning, the women who took spices, they had prepared, they went to the tomb. They had prepared spices because Jesus was dead. And that was their reality. The equivalent would be like ripping down the Jesus banners and trying to scrape off the Jesus bumper sticker. That is their reality in the first extreme. Step away from the text with me. Let's consider our own lives. Have you ever lived and it felt like your God was dead? What I mean is this. Some of you might come in here this morning and you can relate to a time where you trusted in God with your career. You trusted in God for your relationship. You trusted in God for your future. And it seems there wasn't an answer. He didn't pull through. Heaven was silent. Maybe for you it was like the women in the midst of sorrow. You experienced such a heartache that you couldn't have prepared for it. And when you needed God the most, when you needed an answer, when you needed any word from God, it seemed like he was cold and unresponsive. Maybe it is because we're dealing with the death of a loved one. And that drives our hearts to despair. It seems like God didn't come through. I want you to know this is a common experience. The experience of heaven being silent, that even I as a pastor have felt this at one time or another. But the reality is it doesn't go back to God who's turned his back on us. The reality is it doesn't mean that God is dead. What you and I experience actually goes back to a time when we turned our back on him. It goes back to the Garden of Eden. Adam and Eve doubted the goodness of the Lord, and in so doing disobeyed him. And part of our reality is that you and I regularly doubt the goodness of the Lord. that you and I regularly fall into the same sins, and that you and I experience at times that same separation where it feels like heaven is silent. The root is sin. But God did something with sin. He didn't excuse it. He didn't minimize it. He bore it. He bore it on the cross, dear friends. And Jesus did die. There was a time where he did die and heaven was silent. This was so you and I could be at one with the Lord once again. That you and I, when we feel separated, can be at one spiritually and be atoned for through the blood of Christ. And I'm here to tell you, though God did die, he didn't stay that way. You want to know my proof? Let me tell you about a stone before a tomb. Look again at verse 2. Verse 2 says this. They found the stone rolled away from the tomb. Now what you need to know about the stone is that it was big. I'm talking really big. I'm talking man-size, over the whole of the tomb big. They usually had a groove or a rut before the tomb that it would be easy to roll into that rut or groove, but it would be very difficult to roll out of. In fact, it was so big that one of the concerns in another gospel account of the women, they asked this question: who's going to roll the stone away? I like to have fun. I like to contextualize this. I think the discussion went a little like this. Hey, Mary, I've done P90X. I've moved on to insanity, and I just got back from my Zumba class this morning. But guess what, Mary? As toned as I am, I don't think I can move that stone. As strong as I am, I think that stone's going to be too big for us. But on that first Easter, they didn't have to do their best and forget the rest, for an angel had rolled away the stone. An angel took care of that. But I have more proof. We go on, and I want to tell you of a missing body. When they tried to look for that body in verse 3, they found none. And I want to consider this with you this morning. When we have a body that stays put, it is easy to commemorate that place. We go and we know where our relatives, our loved ones are buried, and so we bring flowers and we place a headstone, and it is a memorial for us for years to come. And we can tell other generations that's where they are. But because there was no body, there is still a debate where Jesus was laid. They had no opportunity to enshrine that place and put a headstone. In fact, going to Jerusalem, the debate is this: was the body put in the church of the sepulchre, or was it the garden tomb? And you want to know why they don't know? Because the body went missing. They had no opportunity to commemorate, enshrine, put a headstone there. The body went missing, and so there is still this debate. Jesus was gone. But I got more. I want to tell you about the burial cloths. The cloths surrounding the body of Jesus, some say were weighing up to 100 pounds, a lot of cloth. Those cloths that were lying there, as we see in our lesson. In the account of John, it says the cloth was folded up by itself. Now, one of the theories is that the disciples stole the body of Jesus. That's why we can't find it. But I ask you this: if you're handling a dead body that had been torn through flogging, very bloody, would you like the benefit of some cloth in between, or would you take all that off just to carry that body? I'll consider more with you. If you're in the midst of a robbery, do you take time to fold the linens? Come on, man, I think they're onto us. No, wait, I'm not going to go until this is folded. Come. Ridiculous, right? But a risen Lord can take off those cloths. And a risen Lord can fold those cloths for one slave. But I have more. Let me tell you about those angels. The angels who the text says has clothes that flash like lightning. That's cool. Kind of reminds me of the Hunger Games. Anyone seen the Hunger Games here? Remember that scene where the main character is wearing a dress and when she twirls around and sets on fire? It's kind of nifty, right? I think in the text we have clothes one better. I've never seen clothes that flash like lightning, but I think that's got to be pretty cool. It wasn't just the clothes that day, it was the words they spoke. But what was the message? Remember, he told you this would happen. Remember, just as he said. The angels put the pieces of the puzzle together and they said, you know what? You've seen the evidence. Here's the summary. He's not here. There's a reason. He has risen. This, dear friends, is the proof of Easter. This is the reason we rejoice in a risen and ascended Lord. And some of you might be saying, you know, Pastor, I thank you. Pastor, thank you for taking me to the tomb and letting me peer inside. But some of you also might be saying, you know, Pastor, no, I'm not so concerned how it lines up with history. I'm more concerned about how it lines up with my heart. And so if that is the case, and that is the way you're feeling, let me give you just a few of the Easter implications. Let you know why it's so important that He is alive. Because God is alive, it means you're not alone. You see, I recognize at one point or another, we all feel like an island at times, where it feels like no one would ever understand. We explain it to a spouse and they don't get it. We explain it to our parents and they don't understand. We explain it to our friends and they don't seem to get it. But because He is alive, there's a God who gets it. There's a God who is always there. And there's a God who guides you through. Because He is alive, dear friends, it means we don't live with guilt or the feeling that we are unworthy. See, many of us frantically search for approval. Maybe by working so hard so the boss can say a good word about us. Maybe with our children so they might say, man, you're a good mom or a good dad. Or maybe just with our spouses. We feel unworthy, and I think some of that comes from the knowledge that we are not all we should be. We have failed in one arena or another. Well, because He is alive, He has removed our guilt. And in the eyes of God, there are not levels of people, one better than another. There's not A-listers, B-listers, and D-listers. There are just sinners redeemed by grace and approved of by a gracious God. That's where you and I stand. Because He is alive, dear friends, it means we have no fear of death. As Jesus lives, we also will live. Whether you've been to a funeral recently, or are considering the death of a loved one, or considering your own death someday. As His grave was empty, ours will be too. Because of the life of Christ, there is a death of our fear. We will rise and be free. And so, dear friends, on this Easter, I hope you've seen more proof that a 4-year-old can claim to climb to heaven. We've seen proof in an empty tomb. But there's one last proof, isn't there? It's this idea that we're here hearing the message. The Easter message in 2012, because God promised that as well. God said heaven and earth would pass away, but my word, the message of Jesus' life, death, and resurrection, my word will never pass away. And so this day we join a myriad of Christians in Christian churches celebrating a risen Lord, just as He had promised. The message is here. The messenger might have changed. And I apologize for me as messenger. I wish I could be wearing clothes that dazzled like lightning. That'd be pretty awesome. All I am is a funny-looking dude in an Easter suit. But I got the same message. And I know the Holy Spirit uses that message to confirm in your hearts the proof of God's existence and all the wonderful Easter implications. And so let me rely on that message and just tell it to you once again. Christ is risen. He's risen indeed. Amen.